Some betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from the people who held you, the ones who kissed your forehead goodnight, the ones who swore they loved you. But family betrayal? It hits different. Because when family hides a secret, it never stays buried. Not when karma's wide awake. You're watching Real Life Karma TV. And if you think you've heard every twisted thing a family can do, you haven't heard this. My name is Daniel Hart, and this is how my parents cut me out of their will, completely, coldly, without a warning, only for a single envelope written at 4:17 a.m. with shaking hands to expose everything my siblings tried to bury. But before the truth detonated, we need to go back to the day it all began. It was early morning, barely 7 a.m., when my phone buzzed. I was making coffee, half awake, thinking about the stack of quizzes I still had to grade. The screen read, Hargrove Law Office. A cold feeling slid through my chest. Hello? I answered. A calm, practiced voice replied, Mr. Hart, this is Attorney Hargrove. We need you and your siblings to come in next week. It's about your parents' estate. I didn't say anything for a moment. I don't understand, I whispered. I visited them 3 days ago. They were fine. Another pause, a heavier one. I'm sorry for your loss, he said. My hand shook. Coffee sloshed from the mug onto the floor. They were gone, just like that. No warning, no goodbye. My throat tightened. What happened? A car accident, he said gently. Instant. And just like that, the world shifted. The next few days were a blur. Funeral arrangements, phone calls, people hugging me and saying, I'm so sorry, in that hollow, automatic voice people use when they don't know what else to say. But nothing prepared me for what happened a week later.
When the day came, I drove to the law office in complete silence. The building looked like something out of a TV drama. Mahogany walls, aged copper plaques, tinted windows that reflected the gray sky. I walked inside, hands shaking, heart bruised. But when I stepped into the conference room, I froze. Sitting in the corner, with her hands folded, eyes sharp enough to slice steel, was Aunt Margaret, my mother's sister. Aunt Margaret? I whispered. She looked up, offered a small, sad smile. Daniel. Her voice cracked just a little, but her posture was strong, like she came here ready for war. What are you doing here? I asked. She took my hand and squeezed. Your mother asked me to, she said softly. She knew things might get ugly. My stomach twisted. What things? Before she could answer, The door opened. Attorney Hargrove walked in. Gray suit, tight expression, carrying a thick folder. Behind him was someone new, a young man in his mid-20s, dark hair, glasses, holding a laptop and a stack of documents. "This is my assistant," the lawyer said. "Alex Turner." Alex nodded. "Nice to meet you, Daniel." He smiled politely, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of tension, like he already knew today wasn't going to be simple. Then the door swung open hard. My siblings walked in.
Mark, the eldest, custom suit, expensive watch, ego entering the room 5 seconds before he did. Jessica, the middle child, designer heels, perfected pout, phone glued to her hand like oxygen. They saw me and exchanged a glance that said, "We didn't think he'd show." Mark sat across from me with a smirk. Jessica didn't sit. She posed. "Let's get this over with," Mark said to the lawyer. Aunt Margaret shot him a look that could have melted metal. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Thank you for coming. Before we begin, I need to let you all know that there are 2 versions of your parents' estate documents." Mark stiffened. Jessica's eyebrows shot up. The lawyer continued. "However, the first document is the legally executed version." He opened the folder. "And per your parents' signatures, their estate is left to their eldest children, Mark and Jessica Hart, and their youngest child, Daniel Hart, is to receive nothing." The word hit me like a punch. Nothing. 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 It echoed in my skull, rattling everything I believed about my parents. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Aunt Margaret inhaled sharply. Alex Turner looked up, eyes narrowing, as if something clicked in his head. Mark leaned back in his chair, looking pleased, almost smug. Jessica crossed her legs, voice dripping with fake pity. "Danny, you made your choices." My vision blurred. My breath hitched. Choices? What did that even mean? I managed to whisper, "Why? Why would they do that?" Jessica shrugged. "Dad said you didn't want anything, that you insisted we take care of the family business." "What?" I snapped. "I never said that, ever." Mark smirked. "Well, maybe you should have been more successful." Aunt Margaret slammed her hand on the table. "That's enough." Her voice cracked like a whip. Even Mark flinched. Attorney Hargrove cleared his throat again, and this time he hesitated, like he was holding back something big. That's when Alex Turner stepped forward. "Sir, I think we should show them what we found." Mark turned sharp. "What you found?" Alex swallowed. Hard. nervous, but determined. At 4:17 a.m., he said, your mother mailed a second document to our office. Jessica's face went pale. Aunt Margaret closed her eyes, whispering under her breath, "Good girl, she did it." Alex continued, "I found the envelope misfiled in the archived case box this morning." He held it up. White, sealed, handwritten, and trembling slightly in Alex's hand. "I think," he said carefully, "this is the real message your mother intended Daniel to receive." My heart stopped. Mark swore under his breath. Jessica whispered, "Mom, what did you do?" Alex handed the envelope to the attorney. Attorney Hargrove placed it gently on the table, like it was explosive. Then he looked at me. "Daniel, your mother wrote this the night before she died." My breathing grew shallow. "Would you like me to read it aloud?" I couldn't speak. I could only nod. Attorney Hargrove picked up the envelope like it was made of glass. The room went quiet. No one tapped a phone. No one shifted. Even the air conditioner seemed to hold its breath. He carefully broke the seal, unfolded a handwritten letter, and adjusted his glasses. His voice softened. "I'll read this exactly as your mother wrote it. To my children, Mark, Jessica, and Daniel." My chest clenched. Hearing her voice through his felt like someone had reached into the grave and pulled out unfinished words. "I know this letter will not be easy to hear, but I ask that you listen to every word before you speak." Aunt Margaret's eyes glistened, but she stayed composed. Jessica shifted in her chair. Mark rolled his eyes. The lawyer read on. "Daniel," the letter continued, "if you're hearing this, you are probably confused, hurt, maybe even angry. You have every right to be." My throat tightened. I stared at the table. "I need you to know one thing before anything else. Your father and I did not cut you out of our will because we stopped loving you. We did not disinherit you because we thought you were a failure. We did not forget you." My vision blurred. A tear slid down my cheek. Mark looked away. Jessica swallowed hard. "We were misled," the letter said. "We were pressured. We were lied to." The words landed like bullets. I looked up at Aunt Margaret. She gave me a slight nod, as if to say, "There it is. That's the part I've been waiting for." "Over the last few years," Mom wrote, "your father's health declined. My own strength faded. We relied more and more on Mark and Jessica to handle appointments, documents, and finances." Mark's jaw tightened. "They offered to help with the estate planning. They insisted on taking the burden off us. We trusted them. We believed they were acting in everyone's best interest." Alex glanced up, watching Mark's reaction closely. But slowly, I began to notice things that didn't feel right. The lawyer's voice slowed, honoring every word. I asked to see copies of the will drafts. Mark told me there wasn't a copy yet. I asked about including Daniel equally. Jessica said he had refused, that he didn't want blood money. I felt sick. "What?" I blurted. Jessica shot back. "That's not what I—" Aunt Margaret lifted a hand. "Don't. You've said enough lies already." The lawyer cleared his throat and continued.
I asked them again and again to reassure me that Daniel was taken care of. They repeated the same story. He doesn't want anything. He told us to leave him out of it. He's fine on his own. My hands curled into fists. I whispered, "I never said that. Not once. Not even as a joke." Alex's expression hardened. He knew. He'd seen this pattern before, probably in other families. I started to suspect something was very wrong, Mom wrote, when I found unsigned documents in your father's desk, but not the document Mark insisted we had already signed. Aunt Margaret nodded, like she had been there for that moment. I asked questions. I was told not to worry. It's technical. I'll handle it. You're tired, Mom. Her words trembled on the page. The lawyer's voice reflected that tremor. But I was not too tired to know this. My youngest son would never tell us to erase him. Jessica closed her eyes. Mark clenched his jaw so hard his temple pulsed. The letter continued. I spoke to Margaret. I told her my fears. She reminded me that love and convenience are not the same thing. She told me if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Aunt Margaret inhaled sharply, eyes shining. So I asked her to help me do something your brother and sister would never expect. I created a letter and a second set of instructions that would go directly to our attorney, without passing through anyone else's hands. Alex nodded slightly. This was his part. I knew there was a chance that what we signed was not what we intended. So I made sure the truth would find its way to the right place. Attorney Hargrove paused, then looked at us. In addition to this letter, he said, your mother mailed a set of handwritten notes, copies of earlier drafts, and a directive document clarifying her true intentions. Alex gently slid a second folder across the table. In these documents, the lawyer continued, your parents state clearly that their estate is to be divided equally among all 3 children. My breath hitched. I stared. I couldn't look away. The letter continued. Daniel, we always meant for you to receive an equal share.
You have never been less than your brother or sister. Not in our hearts, not in our home, not in our plans. A sound escaped me, half sob, half sigh. Aunt Margaret put a hand on my back. Breathe, kid, she whispered. Let it out. Then the letter turned. And to Mark and Jessica, the lawyer read. Mark straightened. Jessica stiffened. I don't know when you started to believe that money made you better than your brother. I don't know who convinced you that success meant stepping on family to climb higher. The words were knives, gentle but deadly. You need to understand this. Daniel is the one who showed up when we needed help. He took us to appointments. He stayed overnight after surgeries. He fixed things around the house. He held our hands when the pain was too much. My hands trembled. He did not send a check and disappear. He sent himself. Alex glanced at me, eyes soft. Aunt Margaret whispered, your mother was watching Danny. She saw it all. The letter went on. You may have given us more money, more gifts, more status, but Daniel gave us what truly matters.
Time, presence, love without conditions. Jessica started crying, really crying now. Mascara streaks running down her face. Mark's composure cracked into something far uglier. Defensiveness. This is manipulation, he snapped. Mom was sick. She was confused. The lawyer looked at him sharply. She was sick, yes. Confused? No. She was very clear. The letter continued. There is one more thing I must ask for in order to make things right. The room tensed. In addition to sharing the estate equally, I have instructed our attorney to add this clause. Mark and Jessica are to reimburse Daniel for all financial, medical, and caregiving expenses he covered for us over the last 10 years. My head snapped up. I didn't keep track, I whispered. Aunt Margaret smiled sadly. She did. Alex opened the second folder, revealing a neat stack of documents. Receipts, bank transfers, mileage logs, dates, times, appointments. Mom kept everything, Alex said quietly. She even labeled them Daniel's sacrifices. My eyes burned. Attorney Hargrove read aloud. That total, as calculated by our accountant, comes to $147,500
$309. Jessica choked on air. Mark went completely still. Mom's letter continued. Daniel, I know you never asked for repayment.
You would have done it all for free. But love does not mean letting others profit from your kindness. Tears fell freely now. And to Mark and Jessica, if you truly believe you have done nothing wrong, then paying back your brother for what he spent on our care should not bother you. But if it does, perhaps the problem is not the money. Alex let out the softest exhale. Even he looked moved. And remember this: karma may not keep receipts, but I did. Aunt Margaret laughed once, a short, broken sound. That's your mother, right there. The letter was almost done. Daniel, if you're hearing this, I want you to let go of the belief that you were less than. You were never less. You were our anchor, our comfort, our home. I pressed my fist against my mouth, trying to stay quiet, but a sob leaked through anyway. And to my older children, I hope that someday you understand that greed may win you the moment, but love wins the war. The lawyer swallowed. These are her final words, he said softly. Then he finished reading. I am sorry for any pain our confusion has caused, but this letter and the documents attached are my attempt to set things right before I leave this world. I love you, all of you, but love does not mean allowing lies to stand unchallenged. Signed, Elaine Hart, your mother. The letter shook slightly in the lawyer's hands as he lowered it. No one spoke, no one moved. Karma had entered the room and taken a seat. When Attorney Hargrove lowered the letter, the room sat in a silence so heavy it felt like gravity doubled. Mark stared at the table as if the wood grain had personally betrayed him. Jessica was frozen, one hand over her mouth, eyes red and swollen. Aunt Margaret leaned back, arms crossed, expression sharp as a knife, the look of someone who'd known this truth long before the letter confirmed it. Alex Turner stood still, hands clasped in front of him, like he was afraid that if he moved, the entire room might shatter. Finally, Mark snapped.
"This is ridiculous," Mark barked, slamming both palms onto the table. The sound echoed like a gunshot. He stood abruptly, chair scraping harshly across the floor. "My mother was sick. She was confused. She didn't know what she was signing." Attorney Hargrove didn't flinch. Not even a millimeter. "Your mother was frail," he said calmly. "She was not confused." Mark's face twitched. He began pacing like a caged animal, hands clenched, jaw locked. Jessica finally found her voice. This can't be right," she whispered, crying harder. She She told us we were doing everything correctly. Aunt Margaret snorted softly. Your mother told you what you wanted to hear, so you'd stop pushing her. Jessica blinked rapidly. What do you mean? Margaret stood, her voice low but strong. It means your mother was afraid of you two, fighting. She hated conflict. She always let you talk over her, ever since you were kids. Jessica covered her face. Mark pointed at Aunt Margaret. You've always been against us. You're twisting things. The lawyer held up a hand. Enough, he said sharply. This is a legal proceeding, not a family brawl. Mark scoffed, but sat down, albeit stiffly.
Alex stepped forward, voice steady, though his hands trembled slightly. There's more, he said softly. I didn't just find the envelope. He placed another thin folder on the table. I found the original drafts your mother asked for. They were buried at the bottom of the old file box. Buried. The word hung in the air like a confession. Attorney Hargrove opened the folder and pulled out several documents, yellowed pages, different ink colors, handwritten notes in the margins. These, he said, are the signed drafts that match the instructions your mother gave me 2 years ago. Then, 1 year ago. Then, 6 months ago. He flipped through each version. Every single one of these divides the estate equally. Jessica flinched. Her shoulders curled inward like she was trying to disappear. Mark's face went beet red. That proves nothing, he growled. You don't know how they got there. Alex spoke up. Actually, I do. Mark whipped around furious. Oh, really? And what would you know, kid? Alex swallowed, but he didn't look away. When I checked the case archive, your sister's name was on the access log 3 times. Jessica choked on air. What? No. I was helping Dad. He asked me to. I don't... Margaret raised an eyebrow. Funny how the helping stopped right after the equal split drafts were shredded. Jessica froze. Attorney Hargrove added quietly, we have security camera footage as well. Mark's jaw dropped. You... what? You film us? No. The lawyer replied. The building has routine archival monitoring. It caught your sister removing files. Jessica sobbed, almost collapsed back into her chair. I didn't know. Mark told me. She broke. Right there. Tears pouring, mascara streaking, breath hitching. Mark glared at her. Shut up, Jess. No, Aunt Margaret said coldly. Let her speak. It's the first honest thing she's said all day.
Jessica finally whispered it. Tad believed success mattered. He always favored us. He said Daniel was too soft. She turned to me, eyes full of something between guilt and desperation. He said you didn't have ambition, that you didn't need anything, that we deserved the business because we worked harder. A tear slipped down my cheek. I was there more than both of you combined. I know, she cried. That's why Dad didn't respect it. He said showing up was the bare minimum. He said money mattered more. Alex turned his head away, as if the words physically hurt. Aunt Margaret shook her head slowly, disgusted. That man measured his children in dollar signs, and you two were happy to be the most profitable. Mark exploded again. You don't get it. Daniel was never going to carry the legacy. Dad wanted leaders, not a school teacher. I swallowed hard. That school teacher paid half your parents' medical bills. Silence. Jessica wiped her face with shaking hands. I didn't know. She kept track. Alex nodded softly. She kept everything.
Attorney Hargrove pushed forward the reimbursement ledger. $147,309, he repeated. This amount must be paid to Daniel within 30 days, as per your mother's legally binding clause. Mark slammed his fist on the table. You can't be serious. The lawyer adjusted his glasses, completely unfazed. I'm very serious. Jessica's lip quivered. We don't have that kind of cash. Aunt Margaret smiled coldly. Then maybe you shouldn't have spent so much decorating your ego. Mark rounded on her. This is your fault. You poisoned her against us. Margaret leaned in, eyes razor sharp. Sweetheart, your mother didn't need me to see through greed. Mark turned to me suddenly, rage in every muscle. You're really going to take it, Daniel? Take all that money? After everything we've done for this family? I stared at him, feeling something unexpected. Calm. Yes, I said quietly. My mother asked for this, and I'm going to honor her. Mark scoffed. This is about vengeance. No, I whispered. This is about truth. Alex nodded. Aunt Margaret nodded. Even the lawyer nodded. Mark pointed at me again. You always were weak. I met his stare.
And you always needed everyone else to lose so you could feel like you won. He froze. Jessica's shoulders sagged. She whispered, He's right, Mark. Mark turned away, shaking with rage, but unable to respond. Jessica finally cracked wide open. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I didn't want to do it. Dad said we had to protect the business. That Daniel didn't deserve anything. That he'd only waste it. She choked. And I believed him. I let him fill my head.
with so much garbage that I forgot. I forgot who actually cared about them. Tears poured down her face. "I'm sorry, Daniel." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Aunt Margaret spoke for me. "You don't get forgiveness today,"
she said firmly.
"That's not how repentance works. You start by paying back what you stole." Jessica nodded weakly. Mark stood suddenly, grabbed his coat, and stormed toward the door. "This isn't over," he snapped.
The lawyer replied, "Yes, it is." Mark froze at the doorway, but didn't turn around. "You're both dead to me," he growled. Aunt Margaret smirked. "Funny. Your mother said the same thing about you on her last night." Mark stiffened, and then he left, slamming the door so hard the entire bookshelf shook. Jessica stayed seated, sobbing quietly. Alex looked at me with deep sympathy. "I'm sorry you had to hear all that," he whispered. I nodded once. "Thank you for finding the envelope?" He gave a small, humble smile. "Your mom made sure you'd be okay. I just followed the trail she left." When the door slammed behind Mark, the room shifted. The tension didn't vanish. It just settled, like dust after an explosion. Jessica remained in her chair, crying softly. Her shoulders shook with each breath as she tried to hold herself together. Aunt Margaret's expression softened, but only slightly. Attorney Hargrove sat back, folding his hands patiently, like he'd witnessed 100 families fall apart in rooms just like this.
Alex closed the laptop quietly and took a small step back. Still present, still respectful, giving space for the truth to land exactly where it needed to. I stood, slowly. My legs felt heavy, my throat tight, my heart complicated. Jessica wiped her eyes, smearing mascara across her skin. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want it to go this far." Aunt Margaret replied before I could, "You didn't stop it either." Her tone was sharp, but not cruel, just true. Jessica nodded, defeated.
"I know."
Attorney Hargrove tapped the folder gently. The reimbursement amount, $147,309, is due within 30 days. Jessica swallowed hard. "We'll figure it out." Aunt Margaret raised an eyebrow. "Maybe start by selling one of those cars you flaunt all over social media?" Jessica flinched, but didn't argue. The lawyer continued. "Failure to pay will result in legal action and interest penalties, as specified by your mother's directive." Jessica nodded again. even as her tears continued slipping down her cheeks. I felt tired, emotionally drained in a way I hadn't felt since the day I lost my parents. "Can we be done here?" I asked quietly. The lawyer nodded. "There's just one more thing."
He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a small white envelope. "This," he said, "your mother addressed to you alone." He slid the envelope toward me. My fingers shook as I picked it up. Aunt Margaret closed her eyes, exhaling slowly. Alex watched with quiet respect. Jessica looked away, unable to face whatever was coming next. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a single sheet of paper. My mother's handwriting looping across it in soft, uneven strokes. "Daniel," it began, "my sweet boy, if this letter is in your hands, it means I didn't get to say goodbye the way I wanted to." My throat tightened instantly. "I want to tell you one thing that I fear you never believed. You were always enough." Tears blurred the ink. "You lived with kindness instead of competition. You lived with heart instead of pride. And while your siblings measured themselves in achievements and money, you measured yourself in love." A quiet breath escaped me, half sob, half exhale. "We saw it. Your father saw it too, even on the days he pretended not to."
Aunt Margaret whispered, "Good girl, tell him. You cared for us when no one else did. You showed up. You stayed. You sacrificed. You loved us even when we didn't love ourselves." My chest collapsed inward, a deep ache spreading from memory to memory. I wish I had protected you better. I wish I had defended you more. I wish I had spoken louder. But in the end, I tried to make it right the only way I knew I still could. I pressed the paper against my forehead, trying to breathe. "And Daniel, please don't let this break you. Let it free you. Live your life with the heart that made us ours. And know that someday, maybe not soon, but someday, your siblings will understand what they lost when they let greed speak louder than love." The final line hit me like a whisper straight from her lips. "I loved you every day of your life." Mom. I folded forward, crying quietly. Aunt Margaret wrapped an arm around me.
"Let it out," she said softly.
Let her words do their work. Alex looked down, wiping at his own eyes when he thought no one was watching.
Even Jessica, broken on the other side of the table, cried harder than before. When I finally stood, I wasn't shaking anymore. The grief was still there. The betrayal was still raw. But beneath it all, something steadier had settled. Truth. and with truth, a strange sense of peace. I shook Attorney Hargrove's hand. "Thank you," I whispered. He nodded. "Your mother was a remarkable woman. She loved you very deeply." When I turned to Alex, he looked nervous. I just wanted to help," he said softly. "You did. More than you know." He smiled, a small, relieved smile, and looked like he was holding back tears again. Aunt Margaret hugged me tight. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. "Your mother would be too." Jessica stood up shakily. "Daniel," she whispered. I paused, not angry, not accepting, just paused. "I'm sorry," she said again. "I don't expect forgiveness. I want you to know that Mom was right. You were the better one. We were just too blinded to see it." I nodded once, a gesture of acknowledgement, not absolution. "Take care of yourself, Jess," I said quietly. Then I walked out, Aunt Margaret on one side, Alex behind us, closing the door gently.
The following month was a strange blur. Mark sent threatening emails, then apologetic ones, then angry ones again. A cycle of pride and panic. Jessica wired her half of the repayment within 2 weeks, with a long message. "I know it's not enough, but I promise I'm going to change." Mark waited until day 29. No apology, just a transfer, the exact amount. 2 minutes later, he blocked me on everything. And just like that, it was done. The money didn't feel like victory, not at all. It felt like closure. The final line in a story that had dragged on for years. I visited my parents' grave a week after the payments cleared. It was quiet, cold. A light breeze carried the smell of pine. I knelt between their headstones and placed white roses on both graves. "I miss you. I wish we could have talked one more time." My voice cracked, but thank you for making sure I wasn't erased. I closed my eyes, letting the silence wrap around me like a blanket.
I used part of the reimbursement to start something I'd dreamed of for years. A scholarship fund for students from unstable homes. Kids who grew up like I did. Quiet. Overlooked. Not the successful ones, but the ones with hearts too big for their circumstances. I named it the Heart Foundation. Alex attended the first award ceremony. So did Aunt Margaret. Jessica sent a quiet donation with no message attached. Mark stayed gone. And that was okay. Some distances are blessings. Here's the part no one saw coming. 2 months later, Mark's company launched a full audit. Someone had tipped them off about inconsistent filings. Whether it was Jessica, an employee, or Karma herself, I'll never know. But the truth came out. Mark had altered documents at work, the same way he altered our parents' will. He was demoted,
salary slashed, his reputation shattered. Jessica? Her boutique expansion failed after word spread about the inheritance scandal. Investors pulled out. 2 stores closed. She moved into a smaller apartment and started therapy.
And me? I slept better than I had in years. Not because they suffered, not because karma hit back, but because for the first time in forever, I wasn't carrying their weight on my shoulders. Some people try to rewrite your future. Some try to erase you. Some think greed makes them powerful. But the truth? Karma doesn't rush. It waits. It watches. And when the time is right, it delivers. You're watching Real Life Karma TV. If this story hit deep, tap like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more real stories where karma doesn't chase, it catches. And if you have a true story, one that broke you, shaped you, changed you, or taught you what real strength looks like, send it to us at reallifekarmatv@gmail.com. Because who knows?
Your story might be the next one we bring to life on this channel. The next story that helps someone out there feel less alone, less defeated, less forgotten. Maybe your voice will be the one that gives someone hope on the day they need it most. So share it, tell it, let karma speak through you. And one day, you might hear your own story right here on Real Life Karma TV.